Hi there! If you're in a fashion rut like I am, sometimes it's helpful to go to your list of style icons and edit or maybe expand the list for inspiration's sake. I have a slew of people I go to when I'm feeling uninspired, and so today I'm just going to run down a list of style icons that I think aren't quite talked about enough for both masculine and feminine dressing. So let's get into it. My first one on the list is Carol Kane. She may be an obvious pick to some, but I don't hear her talked about nearly enough for my liking. She is just this stunning actress from the 1970s, 1980s. A lot of her looks were inspired by Edwardian, Victorian, 1920s, 1930s, Art Deco, Art Nouveau. She had a really kind of timeless look. She's got really fantastic looks in Valentino. She has a hilarious little cameo in Transylvania 65000 that I love her in. And her red carpet looks are always really good too. So she's definitely someone to check out. Next up, if you're looking to blend the feminine with the masculine, I would really recommend looking at any of Noel Fielding's looks, either on his show The Mighty Boosh that he co-wrote with Julian Barrett, or any outfits that he has worn in his various appearances in other television shows, or just his own personal wardrobe. He's a master of accessorizing and picking very unusual garments and weaving them into his personal style. I do really enjoy looking at the Noel Fielding side of Pinterest. The Yeah Yeah girls are familiar to some of us obsessed with the 60s. Jane Birkin is of course iconic and has a bag named after her. The Yeah Yeah girl I don't hear people talking about enough is Sylvie Vartan. She made terrific music, and her outfits in her variety shows are just hilarious and fantastic. There's this one where she wears this bizarre and amazing layered wig that I just think I need in my closet. So she's really fun and a really fun lesser known Yeah Yeah girl, and I love her. Next up, I would say take a look at Jinx Dawson and her band Coven. They were an occult rock band in the late 60s, early 70s, and occult rock is really fun because it's kind of like goth and hippie mixed together. So a lot of pentagrams, a lot of inverted crosses, really hippy-dippy but kind of spooky aesthetics that are really fun to look at. That's also a very fun side of Pinterest. For a very specific source of inspiration, I often look to pictures of Bob Dylan when he's tired and wants to go home. Something about his effortless serving while he's exhausting is really inspirational to me, and I love that there's just this entire genre of Bob Dylan photographs where he just looks like he wants to take an Uber home and take a nap. Love that. Next, I would say Mila Nurmi. Not Vampira, but the woman who played Vampira, Mila Nurmi, was definitely a style icon, definitely into freak fashion before it really existed. There are terrific photographs of her with this bizarre haircut that I adore and looks fantastic on her, and she pairs it with cat eye glasses, which is such a serve. Love her. This is also kind of niche, but I would say looking at vintage women's mugshots, if you're a vintage inspired girly, look at what the bad girls of the time were wearing for inspiration. You'll see some really interesting ways to draw on your eyebrows. You'll see some really interesting eyeliner, interesting hairstyles. I really love vintage women's mugshots. It's so silly, but I do really think Niles Crane from Frasier is a fantastic style icon. His suits and suspenders and ties are always paired very well to a T. I just think he's a neurotically snappy dresser, and I really respect that about him. Last is not a person but a book. This book, Everybody Hurts: The Essential Guide to Emo Culture. I think this is a really terrific, almost primary source for alternative clothing in the 2000s to 2010s era. It details all the different kind of haircuts that you can have as an emo boy or an emo girl. It'll tell you about different types of emos, like the 80s emo and the frat emo, or the goth the goth emo, the machismo emo. This book came out when I was in the 7th grade, so 2007. So it's got this really fun late 2000s, almost primary resource for what indie and alt and emo kids were doing with their fashion. It rings pretty true to how other kids were dressing. I was just utterly fascinated by this book because I didn't feel like I could fully commit to dressing alternatively back then, so I kind of vicariously did through this book. And it's just a really fantastic, funny, silly book that is chock full of references for the time. Anyone who's looking to romanticize indie sleaze would be very interested in this book. Well, hopefully that got you out of your fashion rut. I'm still in mine, so please tell me in the comments any style icons that you feel like aren't talked about enough. I'm always curious to hear from you. And until next time, bye!